Hello, everybody. So I'm going to do some content today about being a truth speaker and a true light worker. Um, the reason why it's a bit of a continuation, really. I did kind of some content about this about 2 years ago, and it came up on my on this day, and I shared it. And yeah, it kind of I don't know why, but I stored it at the back of my mind, and then something's recently happened, which is kind of just kind of backing this up again. So this is kind of a message for, I suppose it's more for light workers, or that being disrespectful, low ranking light workers. Because if you're a chosen one or a star seed or a high ranking light worker, then you're just going to kind of push forwards anyway, because you know that's part of your mission, that's part of your role. Um, yeah, so I mean, to be a true light worker, it's about exposing the darkness. It's not this fluffy BS level one awakening spirituality, because that's false. It's light side um false propaganda that so many people, the whole industry, has got kind of sucked into. Now, the sad fact is that when you're a truth speaker, um yeah, people can't handle it, right? And that's something that I've had to kind of come to terms with, especially recently. Now, I've said for some time with my content and with my readings, I'm not for everybody. I'm a niche reader, etc., etc. And I've had to come to terms with the fact that the majority aren't ready to hear what I have to say. So my role as a reader and as a content creator and a preacher, if you want to call it that, is to try and get through to the people who can kind of spread this message, if you want to call it that, in their own way, to the people who aren't ready to hear what I've got to say. Now, I just have to say, as always, this is all based on a belief system. You're perfectly fine to have your own belief system. You know, this isn't religion. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just telling you what I believe, and I do believe wholeheartedly in what I say and stuff like that. Now, about 2 years ago, when I did the original content, I had somebody in my energy, in my clique, if you want to call it that, who I'm not saying, I don't want to say that they were trying to kind of copy me, but they were kind of speaking up on stuff that I was speaking up on, and kind of doing content kind of similar a couple of weeks later, which is perfectly fine, because like I say, I am here to wake up, to activate readers and preachers and stuff like that, star seeds, etc., who are here to spread the message in their way. The problem is that they were half-arsing it, right? The problem is that being a truth speaker, for want of a better phrase, for right or wrong, it's dangerous. It's dangerous. Now, the reason why I did that content 2 years ago was because as soon as I started this path of exposing corruption within the spiritual community, I was very aware that there were a lot of eyes on me. Even back then, I was very aware that I was getting a lot of kind of stank from the old guard, who kind of hold the control and the power. And it was my way of I suppose saying, look, you know, if you can't handle hate, if you can't handle being forced out, if you can't handle negative eyes on you, don't do it, because that's obviously not your role. You know, as I always say, I don't care what people think about me, and I don't. I get upset with the way people treat me, but I don't care if they like me or not. Okay. Fast forward to about a year and a half later, and there's somebody else in my energy who's kind of half-arsing it. Now, to be a truth speaker, don't get me wrong, you do have to tread carefully, because there are kind of potential legal implications, etc., etc. But as you know, I've done some research on things like defamation of character, and provided that you're not saying anything that isn't untrue. So if you're speaking the truth and you have receipts, you know, messages, screenshots, voice notes, etc., etc., that you can back that up with, then that's not defamation of character. If you're saying something that is a theory, as long as you're not presenting it as a fact, again, that is not defamation of character, because you're theorizing. You're not saying this is a fact. Um, Yeah, so you do have to be careful, and I'm going to give an example in a bit where I'm going to be a little bit cryptic, not because I'm worried about defamation of character, but I'm more worried about the algorithm grabbing hold of it and restricting me yet again. Yeah, so there was somebody else in my energy. Now they go kind of they believe that they're some kind of truth speaker, and they believe that they're here to change the world in their own way, which is perfectly fine. The problem is you can't put out a Facebook post with a couple of sentences hidden in some great big blurb and be all like, there we go, look, I've put it out there, I've exposed the truth. No, it doesn't work like that. Okay. Now, the sad fact is that we've now got these, much like we've got fake readers popping up left, right, and centre, much like we've got the kind of Instagram, look at me in my white robes, my drum, professional photography, up their own arse spiritual type people. You've also got fake truth speakers. Now, I'm not saying that they're not speaking the truth, but they hide it away and they lock it away in a way that people miss it. People miss it. Now, unfortunately, when you are a truth speaker, 99% of people bury the head in the sand. Um, you know, or they just don't get it. They just don't get it. Something that I've had to learn over these last couple of years is, sadly, people don't want to think for themselves. People don't want to engage their brains. They just want to be told because they're sheep. Okay. And again, I'm not here for those people. And it's hard, because as somebody who wants to help to bring in change and help for people to see their potential and change their lives for the better, to kind of go, there's no hope, there's no helping 98% of the people out there. It's hard, but that's what we're dealing with. Well, that's what I'm dealing with. And this is where the 2%, if you ever see that pop up in my content, comes from. I'm here for the 2%, and then of that 2%, 0.2% actually get it and engage. Most people, they'll last like, I don't know, a minute into my content, but because we're used to this kind of bang 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 instant gratification content readings, they dip out. So they go, oh yeah, I like him, oh yeah, well, oh, I'm bored now, and they don't stick it out. The fact that you have to repeatedly tell people to like, share, and comment on your content, the fact that you have to repeatedly tell people to tap the screen on your lives, they're the 0.2%. They're the people who actually engage their brains. But this is what we're dealing with now. As a truth speaker, it's a hard path, because what happens is you get people who kind of get on board and they go, yeah, he's exposing this corruption, and it's all well and good until you expose somebody that they like, or that that's their friend, or that they support. And I have it all the time, especially trying to run events. Now, it's upsetting for me, because I'm like, I've done nothing wrong. I am just exposing how I've been treated by these people. Now, had they been Joe Public, I wouldn't do it, because they're not affecting other people's lives as far as I'm aware. I do it because we're dealing with people who are taking money off people, who are under the guise that they are here to help them. And when these people can quite happily backstab you, can quite happily rob your ideas, can quite happily use manipulation tactics, I'm sorry, they shouldn't be practicing. They shouldn't be practitioners with it within a spiritual sense. And this is why I do it. The problem is that we have is that, sadly, people have egos. And that's what it comes down to. So you take the list, right? You take the list and you take the leader, right? Sadly, most of that leader's supporters will just deny it, because the ego kicks in and they go, oh my God, I've been supporting this horrific person. I can't handle the fact that I've been hoodwinked, so it's all just lies. It can't be true. It can't be true. And this happens in all walks of life. Now, the sad fact is, if you're a truth speaker and you expose corruption about somebody, they can't handle the fact that their friend might be like this. They can't handle the fact that this person that they've been going to can be like this. So they go into denial because the ego kicks in. And then what happens is the truth speaker gets alienated. Now, I'm not really bothered about this because, like I say, most of the attempts that I've had on me always start off with isolation tactics. And when you've been somebody who's spent your whole life feeling alone in a crowded room, it's not nice, but it doesn't really bother you. You know what I mean? Um, yeah, I mean, eventually what happens is the truth does come out. You get forgotten as the truth speaker as being the one that revealed it, which again doesn't really bother me. I'm not looking for glory. I'm just looking for, people to listen to me. Um, yeah, and then there's no way of kind of getting around it. So have faith that the truth will always out. So I mean, what I would say to you is, if you're a light worker, if you're a low ranking light worker who thinks, yes, I'm going to start doing this, I'd probably say don't bother, because all that's going to happen is you're going to get upset, and then you might end up kind of walking away from kind of actually being able to help people in your way. If you're a starseed or a chosen one, I'm afraid this is what you've got to do. But at the same time, just be mindful if it's not nice. If you're one of these fakes, frauds, copycats who thinks you can do this and get some kind of rise just to build up your follower base or add more people to your cult, well, it doesn't work because, like I say, sadly, Joe Public doesn't engage their brain. So hiding little segments, cryptid segments, in great big long Facebook posts, people aren't going to see it. So you're just wasting your time. So there you go. The dangers of being a truth speaker. Other things that you got to be mindful of is that the algorithm on social media will restrict your content. It won't push it out anywhere. If you're lucky like me, you'll get hit by bots. Depending on what is that you're doing. So yeah, don't get into this if you can't take the heat, because you will be isolated, you will be targeted. And like I say, it might not be your role. It all sounds fun and games going, yes, I'm going to lead the charge. Yes, I'm going to expose this truth. But the sad reality and the fact is it will isolate you. It will make people turn to hate towards you. And it's just not very nice. So don't do it if you don't have to do it. So there you go. Ta-ta for now.